What's going on, everybody? So today I wanted to give you guys 5 things you need to know before buying a TV, because there's a lot of information that if you haven't been in the TV market, or even if you have, people are just going to gloss over and they're not really going to cover as thoroughly as this. So smack a like on this video for just trying to give a helping hand here. So the first thing you should know is that you do not want to trust what you see in stores. I see so many people saying go see it in person. That's the best way to know what you're looking at. But if you don't actually know how to see a TV in person, you're not doing yourself any favors. Let me explain. Vendors from other brands often detune and change picture settings to weaken the appearance to help their brand stand out. I only know this because I used to be a Sony brand ambassador back in the day, and it was common practice for my coworkers to go over to, say, a Samsung TV. That was usually the one they went over to, and to detune that or to put it into a different picture mode so that when customers walk in, it would be a crappier presentation. I've also had the opportunity to know a lot of Best Buy reps and a lot of Magnolia reps, a lot of other reps in my time, and I'm telling you right now, they all did the same thing to help their brand stand out. So if you think by any chance that you're watching something that's actually fair, you just want to make sure that you're putting both on a level playing field. See, the problem with watching a television in store is that demos show an unrealistic level of post-production editing. So that basically juices up contrast, colors, and overall clarity beyond what you'd see on a normal TV show or movie, because the sole purpose is marketing the television. So have them play a movie in a realistic way, right? So have them take it outside of dynamic mode or outside of vivid mode, because that's likely how you're going to watch it. I can't stress that this is probably going to be the most important tip that I can give you, as a lot of you are probably not doing this already. You're just looking at those demos loop and saying, hey, colors look pretty good. They're not going to look like that, especially once you start watching over-the-air television. And 9 times out of 10, many of you are going to end up returning the TV if that's what you bought it for. And so many people talk about this in my comment section on Facebook, on Twitter, and saying, hey, I bought this over-the-air television and it's not good for that. So just be careful, my dudes. That's like the biggest thing I can give you. All right, so the second thing you should know is that manufacturers are downgrading TVs year after year. So you should always cross-reference with the prior year's models and specs, because they're usually better. This is especially true for Sony and Samsung, as well as LG. Now, budget brands are still getting their placement, but they'll eventually jump on the bandwagon. I don't know why that is, but essentially across the board, products in general these days have been getting cheaper and cheaper. And as we move forward, things aren't actually getting better as far as build quality. They're getting worse. And if you need proof of this, just go outside and look at your car. Back in the day, we used to have bumpers to protect our vehicles from mass damage. Now, if you get in an accident, you have to replace an entire panel, which would cost you thousands of dollars. It's just another way of making you upgrade your car instead of saying, hey, would I rather just replace this one part? And TVs are the same thing, right? So, they could do things to make it easier for you, but things are just getting more inconvenient for the consumer and also worse as time goes on. So bear that in mind as you're buying a television. Now, the third thing that you should know is that manufacturers are using people with large social media followings to manipulate and to basically coerce your opinion through sponsored, overly positive reviews that basically ignore all the major flaws that you will find the more you spend time with that product. I draw attention to this because this is something that I feel very personally connected to. It is very frustrating for me, not only as a professional calibrator, but more importantly as a person, right? Like, I'm in the consumer market with everybody here, and I think it's very annoying that I can't find people that just spill it how it is and say, hey, listen, this is great, this is fantastic, and this is maybe not so great, and this is a deal breaker, so you should know that. I feel like, nowadays there's so much stigma being put on calling people out and holding people accountable, because that's just what you're taught and trained to do, right? People are taught and trained to protect these corporations. But the reality is a lot of these corporations are just doubling back and screwing you over. Now, everyday people are working hard to pretend like they're just normal and average and try to be as relatable as possible, but yet turn right back around and market products to you. So you have to be careful, guys, because this practice is seen anytime you watch a video when they go, and I want to give a shout out to my sponsor in this video, or thanks to the guys over at this retailer for sending over this product. These people are sponsored and they are absolutely receiving a benefit that is usually a conflict of interest unless they do a sponsor video like I did, where I clearly show that I forced my views to be prioritized above all else because I'm not going to sell out, right? And you have to establish that dialogue of honest communication and show that to people for it to actually be an honest review. Nobody is willing to do this because A, it means that you're not marketing the product, you're just giving an honest review, and they don't need you for that. And two, it's not really advantageous to the person who's trying to collect monetary gratuity. So people don't care about integrity in 2020. And if you think you can trust consumer reviews, think again. Because number 4 on the things that you should know before buying a new TV is that negative consumer reviews are being purged. Companies like Walmart and Best Buy remove 1-star reviews just simply because they can. I remember even on this channel, I've shown you guys my Vizio P-Series Quantum review was removed just because it was negative, and the same about my TCL Q825 review. Also removed just because it was negative and not glowing. Simply put, no matter how many times I try to tell people this, people run to Amazon and consumer reviews, and they'll go to sites like rtings.com and other places and say, well, these are ranting and raving about how great it is. Maybe it's fantastic and you're just a stickler. They buy it and then they realize I was right, but by then it's too late. So seriously, heed my warning and listen to what I'm saying here, because honestly, my dudes, like this is huge, right? This is something that I don't think enough people are paying attention to. And honestly speaking, I mean, when you have so much corruption going on where reviews are being pulled down off of major corporations to help sell the product, I mean, you can't trust reviews anymore. So you're going to need people like me that's trying to band together with you to create some sort of consumer alliance so that we can get better treatment. Because right now as consumers, we're being treated like dog crap. And I don't know if anybody's going to say that as it needs to be said, but when you're buying a TV, that holds very true. Now, 5th on this list is that your TV will lose value, in a year's time, being completely discontinued. And again, that only takes a year. So, they're just going to run over to the next shiny new toy, and basically you need to make sure that you have what you're looking for, because you're going to kick yourself later if you don't. And if you only watch positive, glowing, fake reviews that completely ignore deal breakers, you're going to be that person that's going to be sitting with a TV in a year's time that not only is it not exactly what you needed, but, it's also just completely underwhelming and you regret it. So don't do that to yourself. Make sure you specifically look up negative things about that television, and the first person to say something negative about it usually is the one that's being the most upfront about you. Now, as ironic as it is, I have not found any other AV YouTuber willing to do this. It's, again, not advantageous to their growth. They're not going to get a benefit at, putting out negative things. Manufacturers won't want to work with them, and it closes a lot of doors for you when you're honest like I am. I understand that, and I know why people don't want to do it. But, just a call to all my colleagues who, yes, I know you guys are watch this video and other videos like this. Honesty should be the standard. If you force companies to behave honestly, you can just be a person that gives your beliefs and gives your opinions and does it in a way that is not harmful to the consumer. And I think that's another problem that you guys are going to have to face. Now, some bonus things that you guys might want to know is that there are very brand loyal, very biased people, and it's extremely factionized in the world of TVs. So you'll get a lot of misinformation from opposing brand reps and opposing technology advocates. So people will say things about OLED that isn't true. People will say things about QLED that isn't true. And finding honest people about both technologies and even down to a brand, LG, by the way, being the most toxic brand I have ever seen in my life. Like literally, all the people making videos about me right now are all LG people. Literally, that's it. That's how toxic it is. I don't know what it is in the air, but there's something wrong with the LG brand, and that community is not a very welcoming one. It is like very, very divisive. So be very careful when you start looking and talking about TVs and things like that, because you'll be smeared and you'll be discredited. You'll be talked to. They'll drag you through the mud every which way they can, and when that fails, they'll do above and beyond whatever else they think they can try to do. Trust me, it gets crazy. But the reality is, there are some things that are additional that you should know. And the one thing that you should know is that you should never buy a TV based off of price or name brand. That's a good way to end up with a bad TV. You should always be checking and comparing specs, brands, and models, period. No matter like if it's a high end or low end, don't do that to yourself, right? And you want to make sure that you're not just buying for trendy little features like HDMI 2.1 or quantum dots or OLED. You want to make sure that it's the technology you need, better upscaling. I mean, like literally write down what you need, right? And then go into the store, because otherwise it's a good way not to find what you're looking for if you're just letting the spec sheet tell you everything. I can't tell you how many TVs have looked good on paper, but then when I actually got to using them, testing them, reviewing them, they were just garbage. And honestly speaking, if you don't want that experience, just trust me on this and just kind of follow this guide. Now, the last thing I'll tell you guys before closing out this video is never accept, justify, or ignore downgrades. It's always better to wait for the right product than to simply buy a product that's quotation mark good enough, because honestly speaking, there's no surefire recipe way to get the performance you're looking for out of manufacturers by simply rolling over for any garbage or downgrade that they want to give you. You need to demand that if they're coming out with new stuff, it's better than the old stuff that you have, and it's better than the old stuff that they've made. That's progress. That's how technology should work. In 2020, it does not work this way. They strip out features and customers glorify it. And what's even worse, as I've mentioned, so do these brand advocates, these sponsored reviewers. They all glorify this practice of downgrading things, downplaying it, saying, oh, you don't really need full bandwidth HDMI 2.1. You won't see any benefits, completely denying the science aspect and the true facts behind that, completely denying just the benefit of being better than last year's model. These are things that are being downplayed in 2020. So again, just be very careful and don't just buy something for the sake of buying it, right? Now, go out there, ladies and gentlemen, with confidence and shop like a pro, because you just got the best tip on how to walk away a winner in 2020 or in any year with buying a television. I honestly can't make it any clearer or any more respectful or any more honest than this. This is like, you know, literally like quotation mark, like from my eyes to your room to your home, like what you will experience. And honestly speaking, if you don't trust me, just wait until you just go over some of these points and you start walking around the store. You'll see more and more, and ask around. You'll see what I'm saying is true, and it's a sad truth that we all have to live with, but we can grow with together and make better. And the only way this gets better is if people collectively come together and start speaking up and saying something about what's going on in the TV world. And there's a big problem with the consumer market in general. So hopefully we get that fixed in time. But I hope in the meantime this helped you guys out. So smack a like on this video for that. Thanks so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty. And until the next video, I'll see you guys later.